Welcome, everybody. Welcome back if you have been with us before. Welcome for the first time if you're joining us. We are going to talk about appointment scheduling today. This is yet another video in the series of administrative task videos. So let's just go ahead and dive right in and talk about some appointment scheduling. Okay. So appointment scheduling, as with everything else that is administrative, as far as MA tasks go in this realm, um, it is very specific to the type of practice you're in, as far as how big the practice is, how small, how many providers you have. So, just as kind of just a preface to all of this, this is your basic appointment scheduling. Every place will be a little bit different. And once you immerse yourself into that particular office or clinic, you will start to see how they do their appointment scheduling. I will go ahead for those of you who are maybe students, MA students, and have not yet taken any type of national exam. A lot of the terms, the types of scheduling and things that I'm going to be going over today, you will see on your national exam. So just be prepared for that. But let's go ahead and dive in if we will. All right, so there are some guidelines. And again, this is basic. It's going to vary a little bit everywhere you go. Um, One thing that absolutely does not vary as far as when you are scheduling appointments is maintaining confidentiality. We do this in everything we do. Make sure that you are not sharing patient information with anybody who does not need to know it. Also, make sure that you are speaking clearly and slowly when you are speaking to your patient and getting that appointment scheduled. Focus on the person you're speaking with. We talk about multitasking all the time, and multitasking is great, but there's instances where we really need to focus. And being on the phone, especially, or even with someone standing right in front of you while you're trying to schedule an appointment, is one of those times. You really need to be able to focus on them so that you know, you're getting all the information correct, you're conveying the information to them, and you don't wind up misscheduling them because that can cause a lot of hassles for everybody involved. Obtain the needed information and repeat that information if necessary. Needed information obviously would be the patient's name, their date of birth, and then here's where it varies a little bit. We absolutely want to find out what type of insurance they have if they're using insurance. We don't necessarily always need to get all that information immediately. Um, anymore, there's a lot of electronic means that we can gather information from our patients. And sometimes clinics or offices will have an email or a portal or something that they'll send a link out to the patient. And the patient will go ahead and start filling out their new patient information, sometimes if they're a new patient, right on the electronic forms before they even come into the office, which is great. But just make sure you get, absolutely name, absolutely date of birth, um, insurance name at least at minimum, the reason they're coming in so you can schedule them for the appropriate period of time, um, and then a good callback number for them, just in case. And like I just mentioned, scheduling for the proper amount of time, which we'll talk a little bit more about as we go through this. Okay, there are different types of scheduling systems or schedules. And we'll go through each of these individually, but we have time specified, or what we call stream scheduling, wave scheduling, modified wave scheduling, double booking, open booking, or self-scheduling, sometimes it's called, and cluster scheduling. These, as I had mentioned initially, don't be surprised if you don't see some of these on your national exam if you haven't taken your national exam yet. So just be aware of what each means. So here we go. Time specific. or time specified stream scheduling is probably the most common type of scheduling there is. Um, it's when you are literally having specific times slots or times allotted for each patient, depending on their needs, right? Time depends, like a new patient's always going to take a little bit longer. Why? Well, they've got all this new information to give us that we have to go over. So new patients always take a little bit longer, 30, 45 minutes. Again, this is a generality. This is where it's going to vary from office to office. Established patients are generally about 15 minutes. And then if you have a patient, whether they're established or new, coming in for a complete physical, that's usually 30 to 45 minutes, again, depending on the office. Wave scheduling is when patients literally arrive in waves. Okay. So this means that because of the way this is structured, there's going to always be a patient waiting. I'm not a huge fan of this, but there are worse types of scheduling. I've always just loved just time specified. It just makes more sense. Here's what time you're coming in. Here's what time we're allotting you. Done. Which is probably why it's the most common. But depending on the needs of the office and what type of office, some of these other types of scheduling do work, a little bit better. Um, Generally, the way this is done is you schedule about 3 to 4 patients at the top of every hour, and then the patients are seen as they arrive. Okay, so the order in which they show. Modified wave scheduling is patients are given an appointment time during the first half hour of each hour, but then the second half hour is spent for work-in patients if you by chance get those patients that were scheduled in the first half of the hour done, finishing any appointments that may have been left over or still going on from that first half hour. Or this is also when you can schedule a whole bunch of rechecks because rechecks are very, very quick. They're usually like 5-10 minutes. Double booking, this is my opinion, is probably the most crazy, awful, horrible type of booking there is and scheduling. Um, but again, depending on where you're at, it might work. This is when 2 patients are literally scheduled at the same time. And then one patient theoretically is seen while the other patient's having something done, like testing or treatment of some kind or whatever. I just know in my experience, this just doesn't work out that well. But again, like I said, in some environments it may. In some environments it may. This is probably the least favorite of my types of scheduling. Open booking and self-scheduling. This is most common in like urgent care clinics, or walk-in clinic, where they term walk-in clinics. Patients can request or make appointments oftentimes online, for the self-scheduling. Otherwise, they just literally walk in. That's the open booking part of it. A lot of urgent cares nowadays, when you self-schedule online, they term it like a virtual line. So you're basically in line, but you're not physically there. And then oftentimes patients get notified either by a text or by an email that their appointment is coming up, or their time, not that it's an appointment necessarily, but their time is coming up. There may be, 2 or 3 people ahead of them. Again, this is one of those environment specific ones. It works really well for urgent cares and walk-ins. Cluster scheduling, I've never worked anywhere that does this. Um, but it's basically when you schedule patients all together with similar issues. So you schedule all the physical exams at once. Or if you work OB/GYN, schedule all the prenatal patients at once. Um, Patients having same procedures maybe. And you can do this for like part of the day or the whole day. It just really depends on the needs of the office. If you haven't already, I would really appreciate if you were to like and subscribe to my channel. It really does help me out. If you enjoy what I'm doing here, I really want to keep helping people. I love helping students and anybody that I can share knowledge with. You can also hit the alert bell after you subscribe to get alerts every time I put a new video up. All right, moving on. Multiple office scheduling. So oftentimes, um, there may be offices or clinics that have multiple locations, and therefore their patients can be seen in different offices. Usually, and probably the smartest way to deal with this is to have appointment bookings through a central system. You see this a lot with the big hospital associated clinics. If you have, a hospital system or a health system, and then they have, clinics, various clinics, primary care specialties that are associated with that particular health system, you'll see this a lot of times. And they usually have one central scheduling area. What's important, if one is to work in this type of environment, um, appointment scheduling through central scheduling or central systems really needs to make sure that they have clarity going on. So clarify which office the patient needs to be at. That could be their preference, okay? And clarify, a couple times during the appointment scheduling, that they're going to this appointment, this time, this location, and then reiterate the location and the address and things like that. Because that can get messed up. I've seen that happen. Setting up a schedule, we set up what we call an appointment matrix. And no, not matrix like Keanu Reeves matrix. A matrix, a way of showing specific things. In this instance, the appointment matrix shows the available time slots that we have. It allows you to block out time when providers are not available. So like lunches or if they do hospital rounds or something like that. We usually set up a matrix approximately 6 months in advance. So you can usually book out 6 months ahead of time, almost all the time. Factors that influence this, well, what kind of system you're using, so what kind of scheduling system. What the providers prefer, because each provider, if you have multiple providers in an office, could prefer different types of scheduling. And then the facilities and the equipment that you have available. So let's say, for instance, you work in an office that only has 2 procedure rooms. You have to take that into account when the appointments are being scheduled. You can't be scheduling 3 procedures at the same time when you only have 2 rooms in which to do them. If you do specialty type exams that require a very specific type of, say, exam table, have to take that into account. If you are doing things that require certain types of equipment like EKGs or anything like that, you have to take that into account too. So it's really a matter of kind of everybody working together, front and back office, to make sure that they have this all together and working. Appointment intervals are the minimum time allotted for an appointment. Patients can be given more than one block of time. It's legal, trust me. I've seen people who are new at this and they're like, but it only says this. No, you can block out more than one block. Which then makes appointments in that particular office multiples of those intervals. So whatever intervals you have, if you have 10-minute intervals, then everything is going to be 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes. Most commonly, you see 15-minute intervals. So you have 15-minute, 30-minute, 45-minute, rarely an hour, but some of your more specialized clinics can do hour-long visits. So if you've got everything blocked out for 15 minutes and you've got a patient that's say, I don't know, a new patient and they need 30 minutes, then you take two blocks, one right after the other. That's it. All right, so here is kind of, and this is not a real schedule, obviously. This is one that you see um, students practicing on. So these are not real patients, these are fake patients. Um, but as you can see here, we've got the actual calendar over here. Here are the different providers for this particular place. This looks to be Dr. Ophthalmologist. I like that. So this is one doctor's schedule by day and by time. And if you notice, they have 15-minute blocks here. So this particular patient needed a 1 hour block. So they blocked him out for the entire hour here. It looks like he sees a lot of 1 hour people. See, this one's a little less time, this one's a little less time. But as you see, and this is Saturday, so you wouldn't see anybody, but as you see, each block is 15 minutes. So if you need 30 minutes, you just click on two blocks. That will make that one block and you put in your patient's information. Oh, this is a LASIK place, that's why. And that usually then comes from the database that contains your patient information. If it's a new patient, you have to put that in first. But yeah, so here is how these typically look. Every system is going to be different too. Every EHR is different. So they may not all look like this, and these are very colorful, obviously. I'm trying to see if there's a pattern here. Oh, there is. Okay. So sometimes offices will color code these. So you can just kind of at a glance. So notice the diabetic eye exams are yellow. Um, Checkups and consults are the same color. That's kind of weird. Glaucoma is blue. Let's see. Yeah, these are a little, it's not quite consistent, but you kind of get the idea. So that is what your typical matrix looks like. It's going to be a little different for every office, but that is it.